like I don't work on the technical side. It's still more of the I'm learning with everybody else.
Sure.
I'm learning with the rest of the plebes.
You have, and I think for all of us, like, the first time you send your sort of real money cryptocurrency transaction or blockchain transaction, it's like, wow, okay, it doesn't really even matter the amount. Like, wow, that was like 10 cents or $10 or $1,000 or whatever it is. It's like, okay, I get it now. It's like cash on the table. Like, I'm doing something real here, real in the metaverse or real in the ether or
Which is
whatever it
funny
is,
because at the same time, you're not putting in like cash. You're not putting in like bills into like a thing and it's absorbing it.
Yeah.
You're moving numbers from another thing that you have already faith in into a thing that you're not sure of. But it's still just like this, again, ethereal retention of value.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I remember I took an Econ 101 class, an Economics 101 class in university, and that's where I first really like learned or understood that, like the entire modern financial system, since we got rid of the gold standard, is just built on faith. And I think what you just said there a second ago, Robin, about you're moving numbers from one thing that we have faith in, traditional banking system, to something that is like new and kind of like we're still figuring out, right? And maybe we have less faith in, maybe not for us, but maybe for certainly for people that are just coming into it. I mean, that's kind of a really like strange concept, isn't it? It's like, wait a minute, I'm moving numbers around now,
it's a commonality I think between blockchain and then like economics and finance. It's all built around like this concept of trust, identity, and like being able to build that trust based on the history of your previous interactions with other people.
For sure. For sure. And it's sort of it's like codifying it, or it's like it's even though it's so ethereal, it's kind of making it real, right? Like,
trying to make tangible this thing that is like the concept of trust.
Yeah, exactly.
Between like millions and billions of people who don't know each other.
I haven't seen this done effectively yet, but one of the applications that I'm excited to see somebody build or really bring to life is this kind of concept of like community vouching for people. And it, the practical application of it is you've lost access to your private key. Your phone was stolen, or you dropped it in a river or something like that. And tied to your private key is like your maybe it's not even money, it's like your digital identity, like, oh geez, my high school certificate and my birth certificate, my passport were like all tied to this identity, private key, which I had on my phone, I had backed up, but I dropped my whole bag in there, and it's like the one time a year, I mean, but the idea that you could have your community come together of real people that know you and vouch for you and essentially like restore your private key and assign it to you. And of course there's all like, it brings up all sorts of like challenges, like how do we do this, etc., but like today, that, I mean, we do that today, but in a centralized sense, right? You go to, I lost my birth certificate, or my house burned down,
you've got like the government who's supposed to be keeping track of all that stuff.
Exactly. And they have a process for it, and of course it's not perfect. And I would say that it's going to be a balance between, it's always going to be a balance between like allowing, like reducing the friction for people that are doing like the right thing to allow them to live their lives in society versus like cutting out, let's say, the people that are trying to abuse the system, right? And like, I don't know, get a passport in somebody's name who's already died or something like that to do nefarious things. But there's another aspect to that, which is that you've got, and this is this concept in blockchain that I'm sure you've heard about, and I don't hear about it, I don't hear the phrase so much anymore, but it's bank the unbanked, like give the unbanked
credit,
access to, and I think it's the billion people or whatever it is in the world that don't have access to a financial system. Part of that, of course, is like, I think a big part of it is like they don't have access to get ID, or it's hard, or they need somebody else to vouch for them. They have to bribe somebody off, or the services aren't available in their area, or there's many reasons. And I think that blockchain smartphones, and you can get a smartphone at retail in certain parts of the world for like $8. Like,
oh wow,
literally, yeah. Actually, if you go on here, this is an interesting thing. If you go on to Amazon.com, and we're going to look up like cheap smartphone, and we're going to see how cheap we can get a smartphone. And I say smartphone, it's important because like a smartphone is sort of like the we talk about hardware wallets and things like that, but really to interact with something, you need a piece of technology that's portable and handheld and has internet access eventually, and can run like the cryptographic operations that are important for blockchain.
$30.
There we go, $30. And